Dragon Age Inquisition was rated M for mature by the ESRB and contains blood, intense violence, nudity, sexual content, and strong language. Viewer discretion is advised. Hello everyone, my name is Amaronith and I play games for the internet, and today we're playing Dragon Age Inquisition. It's time for another Codex entry reading. So let's begin. Starting with crafting materials. Amrita Vein. Amrita was a hedge mage famed for her talent as a herbalist. She could brew philters to soothe every ache or ailment, even coax the ill back from the brink of death. As word of Amrita's talents spread, she was made a target for capture. Amrita fled from them, refusing to go to a circle. The Templars took off in pursuit, dogging her steps until they came to the edge of the western approach. Knowing the Templars were less than half a day behind her, Amrita forged ahead. When the Templars came to the edge of the desert, they stopped and turned back, believing that Amrita would be doomed to die in that sand-blasted wilderness. But Amrita did not die. She crossed the wasteland on foot, living off the strange plants that grew there, finding water and roots buried beneath the sand. On that long trek, Amrita discovered the herb now known as Amrita Vein. She brought it out of the desert with her and continued to study and cultivate it. Amrita's extensive writings about desert plants, including Amrita Vein, eventually found their way to the White Spire, where it was decided that her contributions would earn her a degree of freedom. She was allowed to continue living as she desired, as long as she submitted to the harrowing. An excerpt from the Botanical Compendium by Amaronith, botanist. Ghoul's beard. Ghouls don't really have beards, do they? I imagine some do, if they had beards before becoming ghouls, that is. What? You don't think they grow them after beghoulement? Beghoulement? Anyway, isn't it caused by the blight? Nothing can grow on blighted ground. I don't think that applies to hair, does it? Skin isn't really ground. Why are we discussing this? I'm bored. Can you believe she's forgotten she already talked about Ghoul's beard 2 weeks ago? Be nice. She's mature. It's hardly useful unless you want to kill someone, ruin their minds, or some ghastly combination of the two. There was that one story about a cat that chewed on Ghoul's beard and ended up bursting into flames. You're just proving my point here. I hope she doesn't make us touch it again. That thing is so repulsive. Plants really shouldn't be so hairy. Like a ghoul's beard? Stop laughing. I think she heard you. Shit, she's coming. Notes passed between apprentice mages during a lesson. Vandal Aria. The Vandal Aria is a flowering shrub related to the rare and nearly extinct Felicitous Aria, otherwise known as the Silent Plains rose. Of course, neither variety of Aria is a true rose, and they are called roses only because of their sweet scent. The fragrance of the Vandal Aria, however, is lighter and greener than that of her rare cousin, and redolent of honey and cut grass. The Felicitous Aria is best known for being the only plant capable of growing on blighted land. Vandal Aria lacks this quality, but is capable of proliferating almost everywhere else, even though she seems to favor dry, arid climes. If left to grow wild, the Vandal will take over a space, choking out any other plant unfortunate enough to be in her way. An excerpt from the Botanical Compendium by Amaronith, botanist. Creatures. A Horsemaster's notes on mounts. Never seen a proud rider atop a regal mount? That's your failing. Such animals are common enough, but there are costs, so you keep them away from chance of blight, theft, attack, all the nonsense that makes for poor stabling. These aren't working beasts, with the fire bred out of their eyes so they can suffer a plow. These creatures are about spirit. A proper mount isn't some noble's plaything on a hunt. It's your everyday, and you'd better match it to deserve it. On horses. You've never had a mount like the Ferelden Forter. A hardy warm blood. Don't let the size fool you. They're not meant for the farm. Centuries of careful breeding have taken common stock and produced a glory, A creature as much at home in a charge as they are in a march across nations. But for all the stamina and speed they place at your command, press too far and you'll be picking dirt from your teeth. They know their role, and expect that you know yours. Warning and promise and all that. On the flames of the Inquisition armored charger. Never in all my days did I think I would handle such barding, never mind the quality of the breed. A true purebred lineage, clad in the hallmarks of a master. The combination is one of a kind, and this animal knows it. Mountain rider, meant for greatness. Don't disappoint. The bar has been set very, very high. On the Red Heart. Honored to see one up close without meeting it points first. The pride of the stable, of any stable. Even the Dalish I've had occasion to ask have said it's rare to glimpse them at a distance. The few who have mastered one, and it truly is very few, say there is no animal more sure of foot, more attuned to its rider, more inspirational to simply gaze upon. You want to match the majesty of this creature? Grow some bloody wings. On the Bog Unicorn. Still not sure what you unearthed. Talked to a mage about it and got a typical head in the fade response. Got a better answer from that tranquil of yours, and it still chilled my short hairs. Plain speak, there's a spirit of some kind in there. Now, a horse to me means freedom, but I understand that sometimes it's a demon? The wrong side of what it should be. What's the wrong side of freedom? Chaos or just unending? Something like that. Whatever is in there, this animal was best of breed, an Orlesian charger fit for any chevalier, and well tended in life. By its wounds, I'd wager it fell in battle with demons of some ilk, and it was finished by its master's mercy. Whatever spirit of loyalty or freedom or whatever makes horses run brought this strange thing back. It wants to serve. I've no doubt it will ride well, and I'll stable it, but I'm not going near it. On the Dracolisk. I've heard of them, seen a few. They're not as rare as you'd think, but they are very, very difficult. Spirited and stubborn suggest a reasonable resistance. No, they're just plain mean. Spur a horse a little too hard and you're getting a brush against a tree. Kick this thing the wrong way and it's taking a piece of you. That said, there's utility here, as fast as strong and as any other, and the rider who masters one is making a statement, not just, I can do what you can't, it's almost, I can do what you wouldn't even dare. Greater Mountain Nugalope, or Death Nug. It has hands. It handles things. That's hitting me worse than anything else. What the ever-loving spit? Can't argue with the impressive stature of the thing, and it's stubborn, like the most entitled charger. It knows how strong it is, and it knows you know. I expected the dull snuffling of its small cousins, but this, it has hands and spirited eyes. Mind where you secure the buckles of your saddle. I expect it'll let you know when it tires of suffering you on its back. Not that it tires. Hands. Hands. Gurn. We woke to a herd from nowhere, just standing around the camp, and it wasn't the first time. Getting water at an oasis, humming to myself, poof, there's one behind me. Talk to another rider for a few minutes, and there's two, just staring. I think they think talking is weird. I say, shoo! Dumb things step on foot. I was not paid enough for foot. Don't believe they stomp out fires. I set them all the time. Gurns don't show up. Harmless so long as you don't treat them like cattle. Maybe farm-raised, but not wild. One time we figured we'd saddle one, maybe break it like a horse, because that hump would bounce arrows real nice. Bad idea. Did not end well for Five-Toe. We used to call him Six-Toe, but not because of his feet. He got the horn something fierce. Milk the thing? Your mother. Excerpts on Gurn. Voices of working caravans, collected by Philium. A bard. Lurker. You want to hunt lurkers? All right, then there's a few things you should know. First, they don't just live in caves. Some of the locals call them cave lurkers, but I've seen them in the wastelands, in the marshes, really anywhere you think creatures shouldn't be able to live. Why? Because they eat almost anything, and they eat rarely. When they're not hunting, they curl up in a sort of hibernation to conserve energy. If you can catch them in that state, consider yourself lucky. If not, you'll need to be on your toes. They're quiet when they want to be, you see, hence the lurk part of their name. They hunt in packs. They spit poison. In fact, I've lost more than one fellow because a group of lurkers descended upon him while he took a piss in the bushes. They surround him, paralyze him, then tear him to pieces, all without the rest of the camp knowing a single thing was going on, not 20 feet away. From The Most Dangerous Things to Eat by Paul Aguirre Friedi. History. A journal on Dwarven ruins. I didn't think the hissing wastes would be so lively, but there are hunters prowling the dunes. One of them showed me a hidden watering hole and some fine spots to camp. I asked her about the old Tig, but she didn't even know what a Tig was until I explained dwarves had more cities than just Orzammar. She clearly thinks I'm barmy, coming all the way here to study the ruins. Polite about it, though. The statues here were chiseled thousands of years ago, I'm sure of it. Either these people loved dwarven architecture, or the commonly known fact that dwarves never built cities on the surface is wrong. This is the stuff world-famous treaties are made of. The inscriptions on the ruins are all in the old tongue. Thank you, grandmother, for teaching this ungrateful brat old Dwarven. The writing talks about the sad parting from the stone. Hundreds of years ago, several houses left their Tigs to settle here under one leader. They were running from a war, or running so there wouldn't be a war. I read and reread the pillars until the light faded, but I know I'm missing something. I'll go back tomorrow. I wish Felicity's sister hadn't talked her out of joining me. I could use an extra pair of eyes to keep watch at night. It's a paragon. The man who led the people here, who built the city, was a master smith, Paragon Firel. The legend says he died in the Deep Roads during a war between two Tigs who used his rune work to build fantastic weapons of destruction. If he escaped up here, that means the records are wrong, or someone 1,000 years ago tried to pretty up the truth about his leaving. The most talented shaper of runes in Dwarven history, escaping with his entire house to the surface. Now that will fluff some beard in the shaperate. My father said our old family business used to be near an archway that was part of Firel's Paragon statue. I wish I could have shown him this. He's the one who wanted to believe our ancestors in the stone were still guiding us. Be nice to think it were true, old man. I was tracing heraldry etched on a wall when I noticed pictures of weapons with winged lizards worked into the decoration. I spent the rest of the day translating the inscriptions. This verse was apparently passed down through Firel's house, through his father to his father's father, and so on for hundreds of generations. From the stone have no fear of anything, but the stoneless sky betrays with wings of flame. If the surface must be breached, if there is no other way, bring weapons against the Urtok, and heed their screams. Urtok means dragon. Why was it part of an ancient crest? Why were these dwarves so worried about a monster they'd never see that they worked it into their weapons? This place becomes more impossible every day. A few days ago, I turned from a statue to find a human woman staring at me. She didn't react when I screamed or when I ran around picking up my dropped notes. When I asked who she was and how long she'd been standing there, she quoted some verses of the chant at me, polite as you please. I offered her some water, but she shook her head, pointed to the east, and said, "Blessed are those with fortitude, for they persevere in the name of the Maker." When I glanced back, she was gone. The poor woman must be touched. She seemed harmless, but I don't know how she gets around so quickly in this heat. I have just discovered Firel's tomb in the east. I've never seen something so sodding grand in all my life. I won't write an essay on this place. I'll write a book. Several books. I will be rich and bring a whole expedition here, and the University of Orlais will beg me to lecture when I'm not presenting my findings to the Empress herself over dinner. That is, if I can get inside the Firel's tomb. The doors are sealed tight. It looks like there's a keyhole, but none of the ruins I've seen have anything even hinting at a key. On the way out, I saw I'd missed a few bones on the ground. They were still bloody. Sheer luck that whatever lives there wasn't home when I arrived. A group of mages have moved in. They're digging out buildings deep in the sand. When I tried to approach them, one of the workers dragged me aside and whispered to me to leave before the Venatori caught me. I wasn't going to listen until he showed me his cuts. These mages have been bleeding him for their spells. I ran. I wish there was something I could do. What did those Venatori want? The buildings I saw looked like tombs in the ancient style. Firel was a master runesmith. Maybe the city revered his work enough to seal it away. Not a good day. Sandstorm blew in for hours, and I was almost bitten in half by one of those terrible spiders, making the fire nice and bright tonight. Wounds wrapped up, but it feels hot to the touch. Dizzy. Rest a few days? Discovered one interesting thing in all the mess. The name of this place. I puzzled it from some carvings on the doors of Firel's tomb. Cal Repartha. A place where we may meet in peace. I hope they found peace. Dwarven inscriptions, hissing wastes. The sun burned above oceans of sand, but in the sand was stone, strong and true. Firel hewed the stone and built as great as any tig in the deep, and with his son's help he ensured the tig prospered and grew. Firel, paragon, fled from the strife his brilliance created, the strife that destroyed tigs, sundered houses, from weapons that clan used against clan. His own clan and his 2 sons followed Firel to the pitiless surface, the surface where they would hide from the war that took their home. After many years, Firel, greatest of paragons, could not bear life's burden, and with the burden growing he called his sons to his bedside. He bade each son swear he would take care of his brother, and the brothers swore and mourned when their father returned to the stone. Firel's sons built monuments to their father, locking away his great works, and worked together for a time side by side. Each ruled half the tig, but each ruled differently. They argued, and heated words made the brothers duel, and where one brother fell, the other raised bloodied axe in hand alone. This is the tale of Firel, paragon among paragons, father of 2 sons, who against their father's wishes fought from foolish words and foolish pride. For pride these halls were made, to honor a father's deeds and grieve his loss, and for loss these halls were made, to honor a brother mourned. A father taken by time, a brother dead by my own hand. With this work behold my grief in stone and shifting sand. The Colossus of Orlais. Emperor Florian, in addition to being notoriously reclusive, was not fond of his own visage. Orlesian emperors and empresses are traditionally immortalized in gilded marble. Florian, forced to commission something, instead chose a red sandstone found only in the hissing wastes. He demanded his likeness be carved there, away from where he could see it. When presented with an official proposal, the emperor idly drew on the paper, adding circles around the royal crest, the statue's eyes, and the dimensions and cost of the project. Florian's signature turned it into an official court document, and he refused to entertain more modest proposals hastily drafted and sent to his chambers, as he considered the matter over and done with at last. Thus the Colossus of Orlais was born. Dozens of sculptors, hundreds of miners, and 3 highly paid surveyors selected a suitably stable hill in the wastes to begin carving. A year into the project, workers uncovered an old dwarven ruin near the base of the statue. Believing this to be a sign that the ground was sturdy, the grand work continued, until Florian's death, when Empress Selene took the throne and ordered work on the costly effigy immediately cease. "We must give our subjects working on this noble project time to mourn," she said. Strangely, Empress Selene never ordered work on the Colossus of Orlais to resume, nor offered a plan to transport it out of the wastes. From an illumination of the art and artifacts of the Imperial Court of Orlais by Lady Simone Therese Germain. Letters and Notes. A sand-covered note. Lephus, I expected the wagon we sent out to the canyons to return to the watchtower by evening. It is now past noon. That it does not take a half-day to travel from camp to camp should be obvious, but if no one has the sense to be alarmed, look for them immediately upon finishing this letter. Take archers with you. Those spiders in the canyons seem to fear nothing but that screeching monster to the east. I'll be by the 4 pillars. Devernix. A worn diary. This book appears to be a diary, with strange charts and illustrations drawn beside thin, cramped columns of text. At first I thought the rocks that glow fell from the sky, but the spirits whisper that these shards have been here for ages, as you reckon them. Did the tear in the veil reveal these stones? Is that why the strangely dressed mages want them? Yesterday they were erecting skulls of all things on top of pillars. The spirits warned me to hide, and it was a good thing I listened. I saw one of the mages cut a man open with a dagger and milk the power of his blood, and I am afraid of a man who could do that to another as if it's nothing. I thought Templars were supposed to stop blood mages, but the ones that came are strange and red and are working with the mages. The spirits agree it's very alarming. They've been urging me to run further into the wastes, but my supplies are low. I'll go in a few days if hunting goes well. Demons of the Stone. Until further notice, do not tamper with the torches. Lighting them in the wrong order summons demons. The inscriptions on the pillars indicate the correct order, but wait until we have confirmed the accuracy of our translations before proceeding. I have made maps to the other tombs where there are similar structures. Let the same warning stay your hand there. Magister Gallus. Below this, someone else has written complicated formulas and scribbled many notes. Demons bound into the rock. How did the ancient dwarves manage it without mages? Binding runes? Subtle properties of stonework? Investigate. Gangu, carved into the walls, could be translated from Old Dwarven as stone waste or impure spirit of the stone. Dwarven superstition saw demons as impure spirits of rock. Study impossible with dormant demons. Ask Cephas and Neurathus for help with the binding. Draft of letter to Venatori Magisters. Fellow Magisters, we have been given a chance to redeem ourselves after one of our own failed Corypheus at Redcliffe. The dwarven relics in the tomes are instructions on recreating the masterpieces of one of their finest paragons. They are to be excavated, replicated, and brought back for study. The Elder One's generous to let us prove our worth. We cannot disappoint him. Do not spare the slaves. Speed is crucial to our success. Let us set an example to the rest of the Venatori, mages and commoners both, with our obedience to the Elder One's will. Overseer Julix. Folded letter. Esterus. The work goes well, but we're bound to be followed sooner or later. I've set up a watch on higher ground in the Sunstop Mountains, obviously made by someone who never beheld a real mountain. If you're looking for Harmonum, he's looking for the tomb in the canyons to the west. Magister Erathis. Harmonum, do-do-do-do-do. Harmonum, do-do-do-do. Note from the silent quarter. Selenus. There are eyes on me when the rest of camp is asleep, or during the day when the animals rest. The ancient dwarves who inhabited this place could not have known, as they are deaf to the song of the Fade, but the veil in the wastes must have been thin even before the Elder One sundered open the sky. To that end, watch Corex. Your cousin has grown suspiciously quiet since we arrived. He's also been seen leaving the Overseer's camp at night. Say nothing, but follow him next time he wanders, and report to me, Magister Gallus. Places. The hissing wastes. Felicity, you're chasing nonsense. Even if there were an old city buried in the hissing wastes, what makes you think the university would send you there on the chance you'll dig up an interesting slab of rubble? I skirted the edge of it once. If the wildlife isn't venomous, it's filled with fangs. The days bake, the nights freeze, and the only other souls you meet have even worse reasons for being there than you do. I haven't even mentioned that dragons like to nest in the rocks. Ask Alphonse how he got the scar on his arm. He'll tell you. Leave that desert to the treasure hunters, my dear. Our empire is full of ruins. Let us find one in a more hospitable climate, such as Mons Mard in the spring. Letter from a third-year university student in Valrayo to her younger sister. Resources found here. Elf fruit, dragonthorn, witherstock, deathroot, ghoul's beard, Vandal Aria, Amrita Vein, serpentstone, lazurite, volcanic aurum, and navarite. Tales. Bottles of Thedas. Chastened sack mead, a brutishly strong honey liqueur, reminiscent of warm summer days, apple blossoms on the wind, with an unexpected aftertaste of father going off to war never to return. Bitter, to say the least. Garbog's Backcountry Reserve, likely dropped to avoid seizure by authorities or because of seizure due to drinking it. Garbog only brewed from 874 to 892, blessed, killed when the vapors in his beard spontaneously combusted. Golden Scythe 490 black. This battlefield spirit maintains a chill even in direct sunlight, which it appears to absorb. Optimal serving is by the drop. Contact with exposed flesh is discouraged but likely inevitable. Legacy White Sheer. Peculiar and rare, a single run of this spirit took color and what has been optimistically called flavor from lyrium in the cask's bilge hoop, a sipping whiskey if you value your innards, circa 790 TE. Sunblonde Vint 1. Tevinter brewed for a very discreet clientele and strong enough to fluster a tranquil, an almost weightless spirit best served with a powdering of catsbane as a flavor enhancer and antidote. Aqua Magus. Fine spirits infused with a bit of refined lyrium, potentially fatal if ingested in quantity. Dragon Piss. The name is probably figurative, but no one knows for sure. Hirol's Lava Burst. It tastes like burning, brewed exclusively in Cal Hirol. McKay's Epic Single Malt. This whiskey is older than the maker and smoother than elven baby butt. Flames of Our Lady. A wine with hues that range from blood to fire, always in that order. In the south, take a single draught, shout, "She is with us," and throw the remainder into a fireplace. In the north, draw steel and march. Silent Plains Paquette. An artisanal treatment of a Tevinter slave wine. Grape pomace is soaked and pressed, then buried for a year under the wastes where the first archdemon fell. One assumes. They keep finding the stuff. Finale by Masad. The last bottling from the legendary vintners of Ferelden before lands were divided. Tears on the glass as slow as the turning of a reluctant air, as quick on the tongue as words that can't be unsaid. Butterbile 784. A hard liquor that is not so much served as it is brandished. Coarse and indifferent, it is to your taste, or it is not. The failing is yours if you cannot raise, or lower, to the challenge of a distiller told not to. Vint 9 Rowan's Rose. Delicate to the nose, comfort to the tongue, and, strangely, a half-remembered whisper to the ears. It is described as, and inspires, a wistful spirit, a vintner's opus. Absence. I am aware of how to spell it. This bottling reflects my wish that the current crop of behatted self-styled cads would disappear. I prefer la fille verte as spirit, not affectation. Distiller Emeritus Gaivon. Antivan Sip Sip. Careful, this one's mean. Attic raised mean. Popular among highborn who wish to seem dangerous, but more at home grasped by the neck by those who actually are. Carnal 869 Blessed. An Orlesian liqueur for the daring, or those who wish to seem so. Said to enhance sensation. And at the bottom, an erotically carved peach pit. The design is plain, but the bottler assures that the act of carving was scandalous. Abyssal Peach. Not so much filtered as dredged, should be kept in a cold, dark place. Also locked. Forgotten as well, if one is wise. Alvarado's Bathtub Boot Screech. If you can read this, you haven't drunk it. And that is that. Until next time, take care of yourselves, be safe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.